Now that we have had a chance to practice graphing compound inequalities with the and, now we're going to work on solving them. So here we have -1 plus 5n is greater than -26, and 7n minus 2 is less than or equal to 12. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to solve the first inequality. So I'm going to go ahead and write this down. -1 plus 5n is greater than -26. And I'm going to go ahead and solve this. So I'll start by adding 1 to both sides, which gives me 5n is greater than -25. And then I divide both sides by 5, which gives me n is greater than -5. Step 2 then is going to be to solve that second inequality. So we'll go ahead and 7n minus 2 is less than or equal to 12. We'll go ahead and add 2 to both sides, giving me 7n is less than or equal to 14. And then divide both sides by 7 to give me n is less than or equal to 2. Step 3 then will be to graph it. And we'll graph it just like we did before. We have n is greater than -5, and n is less than -2. So we go ahead to graph this. We have -5 and 2. So I'm going to go from -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's about as far as we need to go. We'll put an open circle at -5. And at +2, we're going to put a closed circle because it is less than or equal to. And then once again, we'll do our arrows. We want to go greater than -5. We want to go less than -2. And then we will go ahead and shade in between them because that's where it fits both criteria. So as you can see, most of them are going to be shaded in between. Looking at the next example, now we have, let's do 8x plus 8 is greater than or equal to -64. And -7 minus 8x is greater than or equal to -79. So if we start off by solving the first inequality, 8x plus 8 is greater than or equal to -64. Start by subtracting 8, which gives me 8x is greater than or equal to -72. Divide both sides by 8, which gives me x is greater than or equal to -9. Going ahead and solving the second inequality, -7 minus 8x is greater than or equal to -79. Add 7 to both sides, and we get -8x is greater than or equal to -72. And then we divide both sides by -8. Because we're dividing by a negative, we're going to flip the sign, giving us x is less than or equal to +9. Now we need to number our number line. We need to go from -9 to +9. So if we put 0 in between, because that's halfway, I'm going to go by 3s, because we really only need to have 3 numbers labeled to be able to make an adequate number line. And then I see that both of them are going to be closed circles. So we'll fill in the dots. And then you see that it is greater than -9, but less than +9, which means that I'm going to highlight directly in between. Now, moving on to another type. Now we've got double inequalities. Double inequalities are another way of writing an and inequality without using the word and. So the first thing we're going to do, we're simply going to use the golden rule of algebra for all 3 sides to solve. So what that means is we're going to have this -36 is less than 3g minus 6 is less than -15. So I want to get this g all by itself. So what that means I'm going to do is I need to get rid of this -6. So I'm going to add 6 here. But if I need to do it to all 3 sides, so that means I'm going to add 6 here. I'm also going to add 6 over here. Because if you think about it, it's like having, for those of you who draw the dotted line in to separate your equation, it's like you've got two sets of dotted lines. So now when we take negative 36 plus 6, that's negative 30 is less than 3g is less than negative 9. Now I need to divide by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 here, divide by 3 here, and divide by 3 here. What that's going to result in is negative 30 divided by 3 is negative 10 is less than g is less than negative 3. So it's a similar idea in that we're now going to label our number line. I see we have to go from negative 10 to negative 3. So I'm going to put negative 10 out here. 9, 8, 7, 6, negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2. And then I'm going to put my dots. I see I have open circles at negative 10 and at negative 3. And I see that g is greater than negative 10, but g is less than negative 3. So when I highlight to shade what is countered by both, I'm going to be shading in between. So it really isn't any different. It's just that we now have it written as one compound inequality. Let's do another one. We've got solve and graph. Negative 50 is less than or equal to 7k plus 6 is less than negative 8. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start solving this. I need to get rid of this 6. So I'm going to get rid of the 6 on all three parts, leaving me with negative 56 is less than or equal to 7k is less than negative 14. And then I need to divide by 7 on all three parts. And that will leave me negative 8 is less than or equal to k is less than negative 2. So now when I number my number line, I see I have to go from negative 8 to negative 2. So I'm going to put negative 2 here, which would mean that this would be negative 4, negative 6, negative 8. And I see when I look here, I've got a closed circle at negative 8. But I've got an open circle at negative 2, and k is bigger than or equal to negative 8, but it is smaller than negative 2. So then I can go ahead and shade in between because that's what covered by both of them. So then what you need to do is complete the 2 U-try problems, solving and graphing the compound inequalities, and bring them to class with you tomorrow.